Jersey drones. Nancy Mace wants to put an alien body in front of Congress, or does she? UAP Tuesday. We've got a lot to talk about here today, man, and we're really going to spend a lot of time on this drone stuff because there's, you talk about mass coverage. I can't complain about this one. Talking about how a lot of times you don't have the major news outlets covering these type of situations. Well, they are. Probably also because there's a lot of people who don't believe that it's anything except whether it's foreign tech, our tech, whatever it might be. There's all those theories and more, and we're going to dive deep into that. So I got an early look. I haven't finished it yet. I just started it right before this, of James Fox's The Program, which I'll be watching, giving my thoughts on pretty soon. And I guess I'll just say it now. And I usually jinx myself when I do this, but I'm set to interview James Fox tomorrow. So I will probably post that interview ASAP as soon as I record it, whether it's Thursday or Friday. Not sure yet. But again, we'll see if I jinx it. But today it's myself and Attack Peter. Let's get into it, everybody. Here we go. All right, welcome back to the show. It's Down to Earth UAP Tuesday. Joining me on the show after leaving us for a week, we didn't know what to do without him. He is Attack Peter. What's up, man? How are you?
Look at this, dude.
What is that? What do you got? That's a new one you made?
I didn't make it myself, and I normally don't talk about work on this thing. I don't want to cross the streams.
Yeah, sure. You should.
But this one seemed relevant. So it's Godzilla in the UFO figure that we did.
That's amazing. Look at that.
Isn't it cool?
Yeah, it's really cool.
It's by the great Octeil. He's a tattoo artist who's working designing toys with us. But any chance we get to do something with a UFO, you know I'm going to raise my hand.
Where's my Christmas present?
Oh, that's a good idea. I didn't know you celebrated.
Well, now you do the first with the first name Kristian. So, dude, we got a lot to discuss, man, because it's funny. Remember when we first started doing this show, a year and a half ago? It's crazy. It's that long now. But I remember I would text you and I said, dude, I'm pretty sure, I don't know what this is. And I sent you that thing that I saw outside my house. And then the weird one is the one when I was barbecuing, that like the little orange thing, whatever that thing was. And I was like, yeah, but it's in my head now. So I don't know, I talk about this stuff all the time. So who the hell knows what's real, what's not. It happened again. I was driving.
No kidding. I didn't know that.
So I was, but this is different.
Okay.
I was driving to pick up some stuff for the family, being in New York now. And I'm driving and I see something floating. And I'll tell you what, it looked a lot like one of these things that's flying over Jersey. It looked a lot like one of these things. And I couldn't really get a great look at it because I was driving on the highway. So if it would have stopped, it would have caused an accident. But
worth it.
Yeah, right. And I'm driving and I'm like trying to get glimpses and making sure that I'm safe and looking. I'm like, damn it. Like if I had more room to look, and I'm like, is anyone else like, seeing this? I'm like, they have to, because it's right.
You could have started that whole REM video, bro. Everybody hurts getting up and looking at UFOs.
I know. But I started to think about it and I'm like, what if it is, one of these things that's flying all over the East Coast? Because this is one of those that and you've been reading all these reports, you've seen all the videos. Mm-hmm. This isn't like, hey, I think we saw something by a barn. Like this is the clearest footage anyone has of anything. That's why most people don't think it's anything except drones, but they're drones the size of cars.
Yeah.
Let's play this first one from News Nation. And then,
right into it.
Yeah, we'll play this, and then we'll get your thoughts on the first thing and what they discuss here. Here's the clip.
Concerning when you've got these literal UFOs flying every single night, and Marky, they're huge. These are not like your
look at this video.
6 feet across in some cases.
This is crazy.
The mood is more concerned now than before. But what I've said is that if this is something nefarious, then we should be even more concerned. that the FBI, Homeland Security don't know what it is. My guess is the logical explanation, it's our military and we're on a need to know basis. And right now they've decided we don't need to know.
Yeah, y'all need something a little bit more to work with here. I understand you have a hard out in 1 minute, so 60 seconds left. I know the governor says, there's nothing for the public to be concerned about right now. How can he say that when you don't have a lot of information?
Right.
And also, do you think they know more than they're letting on, Bill?
100%. I'm not so sure our governor knows more, because I don't know if the federal government trusts him with information that they don't want to get out there. But that said, absolutely, the FBI, Homeland Security, the military, they must know more, because these things are flying on and around military bases. There would be no way to get into those restricted zones without being shot down by the government or stopped at some level. So they definitely know more. I think they owe it to the American people to let us know what is going on. If it's a secret that will compromise national security, then tell us that. You can't give us details, but be rest assured this is an exercise that is on our behalf.
All right, so I'm with my dude in the sweater and the button-up shirt here, because he's saying everything that I would say, I think, if I was in this position. First of all, if you're asking me my opinion on what I think these are, and I'm curious, I haven't asked you yet.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're exactly what he's saying. I think that this is a military experiment that is our government, because exactly what he said. If it wasn't, and they don't know what it is, well, then these are horrendous circumstances that the government does not know what is flying around. And they were asking local people for help on these things, which is really silly. So that might even negate the fact that it is ours, but maybe that's just part of the ruse. I don't know. But he's also right, where if it is a military exercise or whatever it could be, to say, don't worry, everything's okay. We can't tell you exactly what it is, but we have it under control. Because it's either two other options. Option one is that it's a foreign government, and that the foreign government has drones the size of cars flying over our land, and that should and not being shot down. Now, the other one is that it's UAP finally going, we're out in the open. This is what it is. Take your video, show it to who you got. To me, I feel
that would be tri-state area UFO energy,
right?
You're
wait, come on, record us. It's the New York aliens.
Do something.
Yeah, it's like, hey, anybody know where to get a good slice?
I know.
No.
Yeah, they come down and they do this.
Yeah, and for anybody going, oh, it's stereotypical, that's literally me.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I haven't asked you because we haven't really talked about it yet, but this is going to be the focus of this. What do you think, man?
The first thing that came to that I thought when I saw a bunch of these videos is that they didn't display the characteristics that I'm starting to look for when we see weird UAP stuff. The videos that I've seen. Right. So if there's one out there that I miss, I apologize. But like I saw some that had the blinking lights on a pattern, like that feels like a plane. And then, not that I'm saying it's a plane, I'm just saying it didn't feel, UAP.
Right.
And so, and then of course, I'm not surprised by the assertion that it's a car-sized drone. I assume we have that. And I assume that if we don't have it out, that it's in the works. And if you're following the crazy stuff that's going on in Ukraine, the way drones are being used by both sides, it's insane. And it makes you think that there's no going back, that that's the new warfare, right? So it would make sense to start having, experiments going on with new drone technology. So in that regard, I'm not surprised. I am also perplexed by the coverage of it. Well, not the coverage per se, but the reaction to the coverage, because I'm paying attention, and so my feed is bombarded with this stuff, and yet it still doesn't feel like it's broken out of the UAP feed outside of the local people who are experiencing it and the local news coverage of it. And so I don't know, man. It's a weird one to me. I don't think it's like NHI tech. It doesn't feel like it. It feels like government's taking advantage, military industry taking advantage of people think that everything's an alien now.
Right.
And they're like, fly our stuff out. Now is a perfect time. But I do think it's weird that to leave people in this state of unknowing. If it was flying outside my window, bro, I don't even like it when the police helicopters are flying outside. You know what I mean? It's unnerving. It gets real quick. Yeah. And I find that frustrating to think that you're just living in the experiment with these things flying overhead.
Right. And well, that's what he's saying, right? He's saying that's fine if it's a national security type thing. That's fine. That's what happens. But you can't let people panic and going, what is that? Who knows what that is? Because look, they're flying everywhere, and every outlet is covering it, whether or not it's outside the. I am seeing a lot of different outlets that are covering this besides just
me too.
The normal ones, but
it's just that it's not getting picked up by people who aren't following this. Like I'm talking about anecdotally. Like no one in my family has any idea this is going on. They all watch the news. It's a story that comes and goes.
Right. I that's true. It's not like the main story, but I do feel that if this keeps happening, right?
Yeah, it could snowball. It could snowball. And the clip that you might get to with Fox News made me feel a little bit of the snowball.
That's the next one. But I think that the snowball effect, this one feels like a snowball one. You know, like when we were talking about the hearing last time, and you and I, when we were finished watching it, we were like, no one's going to be covering this. I mean, maybe a couple people for a couple days inside the circle, but no one's really going to be covering this. This seems different. But as Peter was mentioning, there's a segment that they covered on Fox News about it. So here's that one.
Last night, a constituent saw one of these drones hovering over the Verrazano Bridge, which connects Staten Island and Brooklyn. And on one side of that, you have the Coast Guard base at Fort Wadsworth. And on the other side of that, we have an Army base in Fort Hamilton in Brooklyn. And so it is very concerning that they're choosing to fly these things over, as Phil Murphy said, sensitive infrastructure or military installations. And we deserve and demand answers. And we would expect our government agencies to have those answers for elected officials.
So, when you hear that, and like this woman's pissed, and she's saying what we need to say, and that's like they're flying near bases. Now, again, going off the theory that I have and what the previous gentleman had, would make sense if it's ours, and that's where the drones are flying out of. They're flying out of these bases. They're flying out. They're doing some surveillance, because something you just said beforehand also makes me think where it's like, okay, so the stuff going on in Ukraine and other places, like, okay, look, let's test out some of these bad boys that we have here. Let's fly them around the neighborhoods over here too. We'll fly them around. We'll get them to exactly where we need to go, and we'll see what they have to do and what range they have and all these things, and let's fly them around. And then we'll release them in the Ukraine, or release them in these other places that we have to release them in other. And this is where they're testing them. Now, that could be one of the things. The only thing with that is then someone raises their hand and goes, well, what if somebody sees them, sir? Because that's everybody's seeing them. So it's like, so she says, you got to tell people what's going on at that point, because this doesn't. And we're going to analyze the military, as we're analyzing the military side of this, of what it could be, whether it's us or another government. And then we'll obviously get to the major what ifs of what if it isn't either one of those things, which right now I don't feel like it is. I feel like it's either us or somebody else.
Agreed.
But not them. You know what I mean?
Agreed.
But it doesn't take away, because you cover this. It is still, by definition, a UAP.
Yeah. But you know what it is?
What?
Perfect. It's a perfect. It's actually a really perfect scenario. So, like, for them, in other words, right now, all you gotta do, if you don't want to talk about the fact that you're testing military drones over, people's houses, because that's a headline that would, go big, is you just don't say anything and you let people wonder if it's aliens or not. Right. And then later, when, we publicly unveil the mega drone, when it's overseas and in the hands of some country that we send it to blow up another country, then you can say, those things, the next UAP sighting that everybody goes crazy about? No, it's one of our drones. Relax.
Right.
We do drones.
We do drones.
So
yeah.
We do drones. That's the new slogan for the country.
Well, but it's like one of those things. It's like, remember that whole thing that happened was at the beginning. Was it the beginning of 2023 with the I think it was the Chinese balloon or whatever it was. Right. Like that was a similar situation to what you're talking about. That what is it? It's a balloon, and then every time, what is it now? It's just a balloon. It's a thing. It's a Chinese balloon, and it could be the same thing. But as of right now, your scenario is the what if they come out and say, well, yeah, it was ours. Nobody's saying that.
Not now, because right now we don't have it out in the public. Like
I know.
Oh, go ahead.
No. I'm saying I understand and agree with you 100%. I'm just saying.
Look, I can't help but always. I'm always fascinated, and I want to see the next thing that blows my mind. I still say that the jellyfish was an awesome video. I don't know if it ends up being anything, but that video gave me like the goosebumps, right? Like, whoa, that's something I had not seen before. And this one feels like, it's plausible that it's drone stuff. And it's also a great chance for the government to use one of its two profiles, which is plausible deniability or hide amongst the incompetence that it's known for, right? If you want to say that we're incompetent as a government or, at the moment, and therefore we can't even detect the Chinese balloons or whatever they are flying over our airspace, I believe that. And if you also want to say we're testing, car-sized drones that can fly silently over people if we wanted to, I believe that too. Both of those are so possible and plausible. And it tracks perfectly with what a lot of these folks are talking about, where it's compartmentalization of who knows what. Yeah,
and it's just, I would much rather it be either NHI, UAP, or us.
Me too.
I do not want the answer to be, well, it's another country. That's big problems.
It's crazy.
That's big problems, like with so many different reasons why it's big problems. First is you would say, well, they'd be shot down. And then you start to ask yourself, well, have they tried to shoot them down? And if they did it not work? And if so, holy shit. But if it hasn't been shot down, why not? Is it a threatening thing that if it's more of a threat that if it blows up, something happens? Like, you start to think about all the different scenarios that you go sideways, you go nuts thinking about it. So, this is a rough one. This is a rough one.
The other part of it that bums me out is that, you would rather, if you're, like you said, if you're the federal government or whoever's masking this, you would rather people start thinking it is NHI if it is another country.
Right.
Like if it is another country for real, you would rather have people think that it's NHI. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, definitely.
And so therefore, now we got to be extra, careful when reviewing new whistleblowers.
Wait. Let's push back on that a little bit.
Okay.
It depends on who is trying.
Sure.
It depends on who. Now remember, there's certain programs. It's not like, as I mentioned to you, I'm watching the James Fox new documentary, and as they're going through the program and the idea of, like, I think it's Hal Puthoff he's talking to, that says, people always say that government can't hold secrets. He goes, I can assure you they can. And we have. And so there, but that's not everybody.
Right.
There's a sect of, it's not the entire government. That's all. Yeah. So it's like, as we've seen with the certain people who are inside of Congress who are invested in this, there are so many that are not, right? So like those people that are not are like, well, what is it? And like we want them to think it's UAP, and they go, okay, fine, why not? Let them think it's UAP. but there's certain people that are like, well, no, it isn't that, and we gotta let people know that that's a foreign government. They should be concerned about this. I think there would be more pushback on it.
I agree, but I'm saying that if it's strategically in the interest of whoever is running these things to have us this season think it's, NHI, And then next season, for whatever reason, it's better if we think it's another foreign government. And then next season is better if we think it's our own tech. They can easily shift that with what comes out and what gets permeated through the media. The only thing that's going to change that is people paying less and less attention to, big mainstream media channels. So there's not a stranglehold. But on the other side, like eventually they'll get wise and start putting out, like there's this guy who I'm so skeptical of online. I don't know if you've seen him, Andrew Bustamante, with the curly hair, the CIA guy or whatever.
Maybe.
And that guy just popped out of nowhere, it seems, and he's like on every podcast. And so I'm just always skeptical that eventually they'll come in that way and start shifting what it is. So if it benefits them for us to, follow the breadcrumbs for 3 months of NHI, ooh, this is a weird thing, we'll do it. We'll end up doing it. So we have to just be very careful going forward.
Agreed. Okay. Now, look, we're going to get into way more of this because we have so much more to talk about, especially with these particular drones and the response to them. And there's other people inside of Congress who have responses to them. And then we have the stuff that Nancy Mace is talking about with it. So we got more. Before we do it, as we have the holiday season and how you guys have been so kind joining up, we have new members. But I ask you guys, take a look at our great sponsors. We got 2 of them. Got both Via and Public Rec, both great gifts for the holidays. Let me tell you about both of them right now. Don't BS me. You know as well as I do, wearing nice pants stinks. Who came up with the plan and said, hey, let's get some uncomfortable fabrics, squeezing your family jewels, and that is how you're going to look sharp. I'm going to give you an early holiday gift, and this is from me to you. The days are over. Public Rec's Daymaker pants, they're here to make sure you stay comfy and classy this season. They feel like your favorite sweats, but they're tailored pants. Super stretchy with an elastic waistband so you can rock them anywhere. Doesn't matter. You're going to work, you're going to hang out with your friends, they got you covered. Give the gift of comfort to someone that you love this season with Public Rec's Daymaker pants. And for a limited time only, you can get 20% off your entire order. You got to use that code DTE at publicrec.com. That is 20% off when you use that code DTE at publicrec.com. This morning, I was looking in the mirror. I go, these look damn good. I look slick. Anyway, go there, check it out, and you'll thank me later. Okay, it's time for me to gush over Via. It's that time of the show. This holiday season, you have to unwind, recharge with Via. It doesn't matter if you're enjoying a quiet evening at home or embracing the festive cheer. Via's premium THC and THC-free gummies will help you find your perfect holiday balance. They are renowned for their award-winning THC and THC-free gummies, THC flower soothing topicals, and calming drops. They're all crafted with the highest quality hemp sourced from trusted, independently owned American farms. Best part, legally shipped to nearly all states in the U.S. in discreet packaging directly to your door with a worry-free guarantee. No medical card required. If you've been following me, you've heard me raving about Via whenever I can. I love Via. Favorite one? Probably the sleep one, the dreams one, right there. I love it. It's great. It's so convenient. It's made in the USA. It's award-winning service, quality ingredients. It's affordable, accessible. This holiday season, gift yourself some peace of mind. If you are 21 and over, you check out the link to Via in our description. You use that code DTE. You receive 15% off, and then you're going to purchase. You're going to ask you where you heard about them. Well, you support our show, and you tell them that we sent you. This holiday season, enhance your everyday with Via. They are the best. Thank you to our friends over at Public Rec and, of course, Via. Really appreciate it. You click on those links, you browse around. That helps. What helps even more, get yourself something wonderful. All right. So the other thing that we mentioned, Peter, is that you got now this gentleman here, and this is, I believe, the governor of, was it the governor? Is this the governor of Jersey? I'm not sure who's.
I think it's governor of Jersey.
Yeah. This is the new governor, Phil Murphy, has spoken with the White House officials about the very sophisticated drones over Jersey. So here he is, and let's see how overwhelmed this poor bastard is.
The drones in New Jersey and Morris County, the drones in New Jersey and Morris County, I don't know how many mayors sent a letter to you this morning asking for a clarification. What can you tell us? What is going on, and why is it taking so long to come up with an explanation?
Yeah, it's a good, I don't blame people for being frustrated. Let me say, most importantly, right up front, we see no evidence, and I say we, this includes Homeland Security, FBI, Secret Service, our state police, authorities at all levels of government. The most important point to say is we don't see any concern for public safety. That's number one. Number two, having said that, it's really frustrating that we don't have more answers as to where they're coming from and why they're doing what they're doing. We had last night 49 sightings. I think 20 of them were over Hunterdon. Now those include, I think I saw one, mistaken a fixed-wing aircraft, a plane, a small Piper Cub, for instance, for a drone, or you saw one and that counts, and then I saw the same one and that counts. So we think these are overstated, but it's a non-zero number. I was on with the White House and Homeland Security leadership literally at the very top yesterday for pretty much all day. I'm hoping we'll get answers sooner than later. I would just ask folks to continue to let the FBI or their local law enforcement know when they see something, and we'll continue to do everything we can with our federal partners to get clearer answers.
Why is it so hard to get answers?
These are apparently as I understand it, very sophisticated. The minute you get eyes on them, they go dark. And, we're obviously most concerned about sensitive targets and sensitive critical infrastructure. So we've got military assets, we've got utility assets, we've got the president-elect's one of his homes here. This is something we're taking deadly seriously. We've gotten good cooperation out of the feds, but we need more, and that was my plea.
Finally, how much longer do you think
I don't know, but if we have news, I'll let you know. The minute we know something, I'm not going to hide it under a bushel.
Governor, you're going to have people saying, I saw a drone and it was spraying something, or I saw a drone crash in my yard and it set off an alarm when I tried to go near it. There's a lot of fear amongst New Jersey residents. I mean, what is your message? Well,
the message I just gave. But by the way, we're not aware of any nefarious drone that has crashed, or if there is one that's crashed, could someone please call me and let me know where that is? There are a couple of rumored downings for one reason or another. One of them was a toy, the other one was never found. But having our hands on equipment that's on the ground would be helpful, no question about it.
Okay, so this guy clearly baffled and frustrated. And rightfully so, because he's probably getting phone calls left and right in his office, but it's a lot of things that he said that, it goes back to the first interview. I don't believe that he's really in on knowing what's happening. I don't, but I do believe that others are, and it does. I don't know if I buy. Well, the reason we're not chasing after them is because they're hard to capture, and then they just shut down. It's like, how are there not, if it's been happening this much, and if he's on with Homeland Security, how are there not things flying around these things trying to pick up where they are and exactly what it is? And it's something stinks. And then, the other side of that is, again, what if it is indeed something that it's the same answer they got with the Langley stuff. It's like, it's not, we didn't see that they were nefarious. Nobody's linked these things together. The end of last year was this whole Langley thing for days. And now you get the Jersey thing for days. This is like back-to-back years. For days, there's these things and the same answer. We don't see them as nefarious. We don't see them as harmful. So, it's like what, and then he's mentioning there's things that there's more and more people that are seeing it. I think it is because of that, though, that it's clearly, I don't know. I'm confused. What do you make of this guy's statements?
I mean, the guy looks like he's
been up for days.
Dude. I just love when I watched it for the second time, because I watch it, for those who don't know, I watch it without sound when he's showing it here. So I'm just looking at the body language. First of all, the unbuttoned shirts and he's just, he just looks frazzled. But, here's the thing, man. When you're in a position like that where you know enough to know that you're not being let in on everything, and that you still have to go out and answer questions and not say the wrong thing, that drives people, to stress, I imagine. And but on top of that, here's where it comes down to it, dude. If you're gonna say that no one's scrambling to do anything about it because they're behaving, so are we do we have jets like further out just watching? Because how long does it take if one of these things end up doing something crazy? Like, what's to stop one of these things from dropping some kind of like biological, thing, if it's another government, or, like if we're in the age of new warfare and that's how it's going to be. Hey, we just dropped some anthrax on a school. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like if that's how it's going to be. So are they going to react to that? Like say, okay, now we know they're a threat. Now we're going to do something about it. That is not how our government ever works.
No,
ever.
No, it seems like more and more points to that it could be us, that it's our thing and we're testing it, right?
Yeah.
Especially that. Now, there's another report on Fox that says just that, but then it's countered by Tim Burchett, who thinks it could be foreign. So let's play the first one that says that it could be us.
Sources tell us there's a possibility that these drones are actually very advanced military craft and that the Pentagon's testing these drones over friendly American territory. Drone warfare has become so critical, as we've seen in Ukraine, that the U.S. military needs to test American drone capability in residential and urban areas. But the DoD's acting like these drones are a real concern. Listen.
This week, the Secretary signed a classified strategy for countering unmanned systems, more commonly known as drones, have the potential to pose both an urgent and enduring threat to U.S. personnel, facilities, and assets overseas, and increasingly in the U.S. homeland. As you know, the threats presented by these systems are changing how wars are fought. The DoD is orienting around a common understanding of the challenge and a comprehensive approach to addressing it.
Meanwhile, the FAA is issuing a warning. If they catch whoever's flying these drones, they're going to hit them with fines and revoke their licenses. That sounds kind of like a lot of hot air, because how can you find somebody you can't even find?
All right, so that's the FAA doesn't know if...
That's crazy. Just say that sentence out loud.
I know. Like the FAA doesn't know. If the FAA doesn't know, then it kind of contradicts your inside sources that say it could be... I mean, look, an inside source tells us that it could be American military testing because the drones areas in Ukraine. We just said that. Are we the inside sources? We just said that half an hour ago, Peter, you and I. So
that's what I'm saying.
We're the inside sources, apparently. But so, and then following it up by saying the FAA says, don't do that, or we're going to come get you and give you a fine. And it's like, wait a minute, the FAA isn't coordinate. They're not being told by who, if it is our government, like, hey, it's us, so don't worry about it. We're testing stuff out.
Dude, can you imagine, like, here's where I
sources tell us there's
all of it. Like, all that's well and good. If I'm out, and I imagine you feel somewhat like this, like if I'm out living with my family and kids in an area where military is doing like testing, essentially, you assume they do if they have a base nearby. But if it's not that, I feel like you would really want to fucking know.
Right.
Sorry for cursing, but I just would get so upset at the idea of that. Like, how far are not to be alarmist, but if that is the case, if it is a foreign government, like you're so close to a Red Dawn scenario, hypothetically, like, don't you want to know?
Yeah, it's like there's no but that does go to the bigger issue of it all relates to the UAP stuff in general, because and I'll tell you why, because even if this is not UAP related, it is UAP related because it's unidentified phenomenon right now until we know that it's not. But if we do think that it is military, whether foreign or us, the problem is the same thing that does land in that secrecy code that they've been talking about, from Roswell to everything else, that the government says we're the ones that get to tell you when it's time for you to know. Because as the first guy said in the beginning, you don't have to tell us exactly what the programs are and everything else involved in it if it's going to risk national security. We understand that. But you keep these secrets to yourselves because we don't need to know, and we'll know when it's time. And that's horseshit.
Exactly.
It's horseshit. And it's what's been going on with not just this. It's been going on with a lot of different things of like, we'll tell you guys because you guys you're not part of this. and you'll be lucky that you have the scraps that would give you, and that's how it's always worked, and it's just not right that they get to hold these potential secrets because of that scenario that you just painted, which is,
well, this is where it gets real, right?
Yeah.
This is where it goes from like, this is a fun thing that we enjoy doing, and hopefully it ends up at some point where we learn more about the origin of the species, what's out there in the cosmos or in the oceans or whatever it is, but it's kind of has this cool Star Trek veneer to it. And then it kind of crosses over into another area, which is, this is the problem with the military industrial complex. This is the problem with overly classifying things and living in a constantly militarized society where you don't know what's going on. And like, you know, you don't know if you're living in an awesome suburb with great schools and families, neighbors and all that, or if you're living in like some peripheral, you know, testing ground for things or like that. And that to me gets me infuriated, you know, and I just, it's a really tough thing to swallow. You know, I live near Turkey Point, you know, we have Homestead Air Force Base, you know, we're close to some weird stuff, but the point is like, once it starts getting a little more than just it's happening somewhere else over another ocean that some Navy pilot saw, to, hey, that's my neighborhood. And that's when it starts to get really weird, man. And people are going to have to start saying something if they're uncomfortable with it.
I think that's what's going on with this story, is that they are, you know, and it's like, and because, and this is also the thing why I think it's going to snowball into more and more people covering it, because it doesn't seem to a lot of people. Most people are not going to go, well, that's alien craft.
Right.
Most people are going to say what we've just been saying, and that's that it's either foreign or it's us or it's something else, because they can see it. It's one of these things I can see it. What is it? So it's not one of these things where people are going to go, oh, it's a foo-foo alien story, and I'm not going to cover that. It's like, no, there's freaking drones that people are seeing all over the damn place. But the other scenario here is, Peter, is what if it turns out that it is the foo-foo stuff, and that is the first side of it, that it's like these things that you've been seeing. Right? Like, imagine if that was the Pentagon's answer. If they said, like, okay, we've decided, we've made our statement, and our statement is the Langley stuff, we haven't been able to explain it, but we are fairly confident that it is NHI. There's no world that happens, by the way.
My fellow Americans,
right.
It is the foo-foo stuff.
You're right. There's no world that happens. But what if it was, and that's the way that like, we can't hide this anymore, because people think that it's other military. People think that it's us, and we're not telling them. We gotta tell them, like, because
it's kind of a perfect storm for disclosure, right? Or like a real grassroots level thing that we've been talking about forever. This is probably not the way, you know, they would prefer things to unfold, but it kind of is an unintentional checkmate forming if people really do get upset enough that they keep the pressure on their local governments, you know, the representatives who want to be reelected, to say, hey, I trust you as our elected representative to know what's going on, to keep us safe, and to, you know, and to have a clear line of communication with the military bases that operate, you know, in your jurisdiction. So if I can't, then I can't vote for you again.
Yeah.
And that's where, like, you know, rubber meets the road for these folks. They want to be able to get donations and get reelected, et cetera, et cetera. So this is a way to put pressure on them that doesn't have anything to do with saying, I want to know what you're hiding in your secret bases. This is like, what is that?
Yeah. Well, speaking of somebody who has, whether it's re-election, whether it's getting his name out there, whether it's being part of the UAP stuff, is Tim Burchett, right? Now, as we heard in the last report, they think that could be us testing these things. And as we've thought, Tim Burchett poses the opposite, which is the point of view that we also said. But let's show his clip.
Tennessee Congressman and House Oversight Committee member Tim Burchett joins us now. Congressman, thanks for joining us this morning. This is a little bit personal to me. My entire neighborhood, everybody in the surrounding cities, seems like it's all anybody's talking about because there are so many sightings. We're going to show you the one outside of my house that my kids captured just on Thursday night. But what are your thoughts on this? What's happening, and why don't we have more information? That's over my house. Yeah.
It's one of three things. It's either individuals, it's either the Chinese, or it's our military, or a combination thereof. Honestly, you don't see a lot of that in Tennessee, where I'm from, because everybody's got a 12-gauge shotgun, man. And I suspect we need to open the season up on drones. But it's I've been briefed on military maneuvers where we know that that the Chinese are doing that, and so it's a real problem. I think we need to, and honestly, they don't respect this country right now because of who's in the White House. I mean, you saw the Chinese balloon; it was able to fly over our secret installations, and even in Tennessee over Oak Ridge, it turned around and went back. We could have dropped it up in the Pacific long time before it went all the way across the ocean. They dropped it off the coast of Myrtle Beach. So they are actually testing us, I feel like, and we are failing that test. And until Donald Trump gets in the White House, you'll continue to see this. But I would say it will sharply drop when he's.
That doesn't make me feel safe that I have to wait till Donald Trump is in office to find out what's flying over, like literally outside my window. We're not even talking like way over my house.
Yes, ma'am. Well, you've got local laws and regulations, and I would suggest you petition your local folks. But FAA is supposed to control the airspace, and they're failing at their job.
Here's what just so you know, everybody in my neighborhood is calling the police station and the sheriff, and then the sheriff says call the FBI, and nobody gets any answers. Here's what the FAA said. They said safely integrating drones into the national airspace system is a key priority for the FAA. We look into all reports of unauthorized drone operations and investigate when appropriate. What? Like, that doesn't tell me anything.
That's gutless, ma'am, and that is the attitude of the federal government. And I suspect our friends at DOJ will make that report, and I hope Congress has the guts to do something about it. But that in lies the problem right there, because what you'll do is, as I stated on my X account, it had over 3 million views. What I said the problem is the congressmen that are in that room. They got to get the guts to do something about it. And if they make the propeller in one guy's district and the battery in the other parts of the district, they're going to say, well, we need to study this for a while. And we don't need to study it, ma'am. It needs to go away.
All right, so this is the type of stuff. Burchett drives me nuts sometimes. He drives me nuts because you'll get something like at the end of that when he's talking about you need people with guts that says, like, no, we don't need to, like, investigate it. We need it to go away. If it is indeed foreign, right? Like, we need it to go away. And that's the type of stuff, yes, absolutely, 100%. Find out what it is and get rid of it. The FAA needs to do their job, 100%. He makes everything political, everything. And as I've said to everyone before, I cannot stand both sides of the coin. I just can't because of extremism stuff that happens on both sides all the time. It drives me crazy. This is an example of it. This shouldn't be, well, it's the people that are in there now, and that's the reason why the drones are flying around is because the whole reason, cut that shit out and figure out how to get it done in general. It's like, and because the lady said it right, she's like, I got to wait for Donald Trump to come in to figure out how to do this. Stop that shit. It's over. Yeah. It's over. And plus the fact your side of it won already.
Yeah. Plus, what are you going to do if at some point when the new administration takes over and there is a moment where they are not acting as aggressively as you like, then that whole argument goes out the window, right?
Yeah, it's stupid. So, you can't put your foot in your mouth by doing that. So that's like, that kind of shit. And he did the same thing when it came to when Garcia was trying to push forward the UAPDA stuff. He's like, well, they won't be able to. They're Democrats. They can't. Shut up about the fucking politics side of it. Stop with the partisan shit and make it bipartisan again. And the same goes for this. This needs to be a thing where it's like, okay, look, yeah, I don't disagree with them. The FAA has their heads up their asses with this if they can't figure out what the hell's going on. Like I said, 75% of what he said is like, yeah, man, go for it and do exactly what you're talking about. It's the same reason why you want this guy knocking on the door and saying, hey, we got to open up these documents. We got to find out why these people are spending all these money. That's the guy. Tim, buddy, keep the politics out of this shit. Other stuff that you're working on, totally go for it. That's the way the game works. This kind of stuff, when it comes to the UAP stuff and the drone stuff, you ain't winning any supporters on it on both sides. People are like, cut it out. We're not worried about blame right now. We're worried about what the hell is it. This is it, like, again, I root for this guy when it comes to when he's on the hearings and he's talking about things. I root for Burchett, and I've covered him positively. I think 85% when he's talking about these things. This is the type of stuff when he talks, I want him to shush.
I know if anybody watches this and after Corbell retweeted the show, I feel like there's a good chance more people are, and you have his ear or his team's ear, just remind him how much he shot up into people's awareness with this topic, with this issue. You're already there, man. every time you do this and you make it, it seems so like
disingenuous,
lame,
yeah,
and no disrespect, but it feels so boomery. It feels so
does,
cringy.
But
it's
but he's changed, because you remember when he started, it was all kumbaya. Look at me and my buddy Chuck Schumer, and me and my buddy this person, that person, and we're all together. And now he's gone back to like, it's us against them, and it's like, look, the whole point of everything is, in general, what I always believed government was, whether you have disagreements on one side, it's like, overall, you're supposed to find the common ground, say, what can we do to make this better? That's what they did at the first hearing with David Grush. That's what they all did together. And
they're taking it for granted, man. And I guarantee you there's some donor in his ear that's like, hey, can we make this like one of the Republican issues? We're really popular on this. We're getting a lot of good feedback on this.
But Peter, you can still also do that in a way that it's not so abrasive. I mean, look at, who's doing that right now, and it's a little obvious, but it's still not abrasive, is Nancy Mace. Nancy Mace is clearly doing that too, and it's agree. But she's doing it in a way that it's like, okay, she's fine. She's fighting for her party, and she's getting her party up there, but she's fighting the fight, whether you think it's for real or not. It's like when Burchett comes on, I'm like, okay, what's he gonna say? He's gonna push forward. This guy's gonna kick down the door. He's gonna do something with Luna. He's gonna find out what the hell these drones are, and he very well might. But it's like, stop saying they're the bad guys, we're the good guys. I don't care anymore. I don't care.
You already achieve what you're trying to achieve without mentioning it. I believe, and I think people saw that, and it wasn't a left and right thing. It was like, here are people who actually care about representing their constituents, and they are outliers amongst the rest. And what was happening is you were creating a big unified tent, and people were coming in, and it felt whoa, like government works, like all of a sudden, you know what I mean? And going backwards is a problem, and that's what I think he's doing here. And I don't know if it's, again, like, is he getting pressure from donors? Is he feeling his own, is he liking the smell of his own brand a little too much? Whatever it is, I think you achieve what you're trying to achieve by not trying so hard to do it.
You like all of that stuff. Like, if he's just be the person that gets it done, or make a phone call, talk to the people to get it done. And it's like, look who got it done. That guy.
Not to go so far into this, but what's funny now that's kind of like trending in all these post-election conversations is that, the right feels like it's a bigger tent that's accepting anybody who wants to align to do anything with them, right? And whereas the left feels like a smaller tent now.
Right.
And so if you wanted to really use this as a political issue, which should be at the bottom of the list, but okay, that's what you're doing, just realize that making it a big tent issue does more to help your cause than constantly trying to make it a political dividing issue.
Right. And I don't think that was his intent, though.
I don't think so either. That's why we're calling him out.
100%. To be fair to him, I think that I do think his intentions are 100% true when it comes to, hey, we want to find out what these things are. I think he's frustrated beyond all hell because he's been knocking at the door, having doors shut in his face all the damn time, and not with this particular topic, but with the UAP topic and other things. And he's super frustrated with it, and I get it. But it's just like, it's exhausting, and it's one of the major problems. Like I've said it 1,000 times over. When the far left talks too much, I go, shut up.
Right.
When the far right talks too much, I say, shut up.
100%.
When it becomes like, look, I am someone that it's like, okay, I don't care what party you're representing. What are you doing as far, you said this? That's why someone will say to me, why are you covering something that's on Fox News? Because they're talking about something that is interesting to me. Why are you covering something that's on CNN? Because they're covering something that's interesting to me. I don't care about the both sides of things, and neither should Tim Burchett when it comes to this. Anyway.
Aligning with anybody to do good, no one to do evil.
No. So, we mentioned Nancy Mace, and so this is a kind of complete swerve off of the drone stuff, but she was asked, and she said something pretty crazy. So let's play this clip.
Biggest frustration is whether it's Lou Elizondo or others. They would love for this information to be able, like photos, videos, to be presented. Mm-hmm. I would love for Congresswoman Nancy Mace to hold up a giant poster board during one of these hearings and show.
I want an alien body on a gurney. I want the non-human biologics on a gurney and roll it into an oversight hearing. That's what, that's what people want to see. We don't have that information. We don't have that evidence. But if it exists, I'm sure as hell going to try to find it.
Yeah, maybe start in Ohio, and the stonewalling members of Congress who want to keep what's hidden at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base hidden from all of us, right? Start there. I'd love for them to have to bring that forward, but they won't because they're corrupt, and they will try to stonewall and keep it from us.
This is kind of what we were talking about with Nancy Mace, right? Like, shouldn't make anything political there, but the problem is with Nancy Mace is that I feel like, she's like, I want to take an alien body there and just throw it out in front of everybody. In the same way when before the hearing starts, she's taking pictures of, like aliens and things too. I believe that she wants to investigate what the hell's going on. I don't know how much I think she really believes though, because it's easier said than done. Like, yeah, let's roll in an alien body. Would you really want to do that? Would you really want to roll in a body if you think that one really exists and it's mangled and all these things, and you're gonna roll it out in front of everybody? That would drive people people would be jumping out their freaking windows. So it's like, when he's asking, he's going pictures and more things like that. He's going down the right road, and then she goes, I want to take a big old alien and have him do a dance in front of it. It's like, don't bring the stigma back.
Yes, it seems like she's like some wild person at a tailgating who's like, bring out the bodies, man. Like, come at me, bro. Remember?
Yeah.
I appreciate the irreverence to kind of lighten the tension and the existential load of all of this, but at the same time, like, hey, man, it's gonna. This is where I rest on it. I feel like it's just gonna take all types. We're going to have to, again, you're going to have to assume that while the topic still remains somewhat fringe, you're going to have some wild people out there, and we're just going to have to focus on message versus the messenger.
I know.
So I think you're going to have a lot of people who don't say things the way you would like them to say it, who don't comport themselves the way you'd want them to comport it. They're not elevating the topic to become more serious and mainstream. They're kind of like reveling in the weirdness of it. And she's currently one of the focal points of this movement as far as it goes to mainstream interaction with the federal government. So it's weird, dude. It's just weird. I don't know what to say. It's weird.
What I will say though is watching all of her clips and everything from the hearing to every interview that she's given, she just seems that it just seems to be her though too. Like she's
very Mrs. Smith Goes to Washington energy when it comes to this.
I think in general though, if you hear her talk, she cracks jokes. She does these things, and maybe. I don't disagree that maybe there's sometimes you got to be careful on the jokes because, as you say, you don't want to stick. But if you're going after the topic and you're trying to really knock it down, she's been doing a lot of interviews about it. And here's another one that she's talking about with the reverse engineering program, and then we'll call it a day.
I've seen memos between the FBI and the U.S. Army where they're saying, we'll help you with this crash retrieval program, but you have to give us access to the crashed craft that the government tells us doesn't exist.
We're running one coming up in November. A bunch of people from the FBI want to come because they have a program looking at these things.
So that's the kind of stuff that I'm super happy that she's doing.
Right.
So she's sitting there, she's talking about, like, I've seen memos that say this, and then they cut to the thing with Gary Nolan that says that the FBI is, and it's more of the information that the FBI has this stuff in the crash retrieval program and all of that. So,
hey, the same way I wouldn't I'm not rooting for her to get wild and crazy on Capitol Hill. I'm also not upset at it. Like, again, try to put yourself, and this is for people watching this, for what it's worth, try to put yourself in the shoes of someone who publicly is going to continue to push this. If it's not a ruse, if she's not just doing it to make fun of it, right? If she's not just, you have to position yourself in such a way where later they can't say, Nancy Mace, she's just insane. Look how nervous she gets. She's stressed out. She thinks everything's a conspiracy. She thinks the government's hiding alien bodies. At least the way she's delivering those statements feels like you're not gonna mess her up by telling her that, oh, she's the alien chick. She's gonna be like, yeah, so bring the bodies out or not. So there is some strength to that. It's just unusual. We're not used to it.
No. And I think that you're right, because it's like, look, characters like herself, Burchett, people who are characters, they're still going to get the interviews and they're going to get people talking.
You're not going to get Endgame Captain America, dude. I mean, that's what we all want.
I know.
You're not going to get Chris Evans coming back to say, I really want to talk about this. Not happening. You're going to get all these wild people. You're going to get Logan Paul. You're going to get Gary Nolan. You're going to get the whole spectrum in between.
Well, yeah, but we need some new players in the game too. We need we do need some new ones, because if it is the same group of people, then it just starts to get redundant.
Yeah.
All right. So that's what we got today. And it really was to dive into this drone stuff. I got to thank Attack Peter. Buddy, where can they find you?
Here, all the time, whenever you'll have me back, whenever I can make it work. I love doing this with you. But anywhere online, Attack Peter, I'm there. People hit me up with messages and DMs, and I look through all of them. If I can't get a response to you, I apologize, but I appreciate it. So keep sending stuff if you want.
And that's it. So make sure, if you want to help out the show, not only can you be a member here today, you can check out one of our wonderful, wonderful sponsors that we have. You have the links in the description. Thank you to Peter. Thank you, you guys, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.